All right. Thank you, everyone, for being on the call today. Really appreciate your time. Today, we're diving deep into the Miessence Complete Protein. It's a really amazing product. I'm really thrilled with how this product has turned out as a protein supplement. So it's super easily digestible because it's from bio-fermented and sprouted plant sources. It's very, very easily digestible. It's an extremely high protein product. It's 78.8% protein, the product itself. So it's nearly 80% protein, which is a really, really high source of protein, especially for a plant-based product. It's extremely low carb, almost very, very low carb. So it's great for insulin, for helping for reducing fat storage and for reducing insulin reactions with your food. It's optimally balanced. It's got an incredibly perfectly balanced essential amino acid profile, which we're going to go into during the presentation. And just one 25-gram serving provides nearly 2/3 of the essential amino acid daily requirement for a 70-kilogram person. And we're also going to go into the mathematical calculations of how I got this shortly. So yes, it's certified organic, sprouted and bio-fermented, raw, vegan, which is plant-based, gluten-free, highly digestible, complete from complementary sources, no gluten, no wheat, no egg, no soy, no dairy, no whey protein, no artificial flavors, sweeteners or preservatives. So it's a very clean product. So how we suggest you take your protein is really, however, you're only limited by your imagination with using this protein. It blends really, really nicely with water, with juice, any milk of choice. Although we don't recommend soy, or I don't recommend soy, but that's a whole other story. It goes nicely with yogurt. It can be added to your smoothies. It can also be mixed into your homemade energy bars or balls, little gunk balls, nut, seed, date, paste balls, muffins. It can be added to pancakes, desserts, soups, baked goods, cereals, hot cereals. You can also, you can add it to pretty much any recipe you can think of. You can add this protein to, and because it's not sweet, it's not highly sweetened, it can be added to savoury foods as well. And you can use it to make sort of protein-rich sauces for pasta. There's really no limit to how you can get extra protein, especially if you're a vegan or a vegetarian. There's no limit to how you can get extra protein into your diet with this product. And because it's plant sourced, and we're not relying on animals to get our protein, it's incredibly environmentally sustainable. Relying on animal sources as your primary protein source imposes enormous cost to the environment in terms of energy and water consumption, carbon dioxide production, and pollution. Animal proteins are much more expensive compared to plant-based proteins, not only for our wallets, but also for our planet and our environment. So increasing the amount of quality plant proteins in your diet while reducing animal proteins benefits our health and the planet. So just getting into the importance of protein. Protein is a vital macronutrient. It's essential for the sustenance of life, and next to water makes up the largest portion of our body weight. Now, the liver actually manufactures about 80% of these amino acids, these proteins. So that proteins actually are, they're made up of amino acids, which are the building blocks of our bones, our muscles, our tissues. Next to water, protein is a huge part of our body. And they're broken down in our stomach during the digestive process and broken down into their individual amino acids, including the essential amino acids that can't be biosynthesized by the body. So our liver makes most of our amino acids, but the essential ones, or the ones that are called essential, are the ones that our liver can't manufacture. And these must be sourced from outside, from food sources. And the protein can't be stored by the body, unlike fat and carbohydrates. Protein can't be stored by the body. It must be consumed regularly. So, at least two or three times a day, or generally, a protein source with every meal is ideal. So, of course, animal sources of protein are your meat, fish, eggs, dairy, cheeses. Plant sources are grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. But for vegans and vegetarians, we have to consume a variety of plant-based proteins, because plant sources are actually not complete proteins. So they usually have a limiting amino acid, a limiting essential amino acid in the individual plant proteins. So symptoms of inadequate protein intake is decreased muscle loss, decreased metabolic rate, feeling cold, impaired immunity, getting sick all the time, impaired wound healing. So if your wounds and cuts and scrapes don't heal quickly, it may mean that you are not intaking enough protein. And also a loss of skin elasticity is a symptom of inadequate protein intake. So how much protein do we actually need? Okay, so the RDI, the recommended daily intake for protein is, and this is a rule of thumb or a ballpark figure, is around 0.8 of a gram per kilogram of body weight, or around, so rule of thumb, you can say grams per kilogram of body weight. So for example, if you weigh 70 kilos, 70 grams of protein, is approximate, but that would increase. But with this, the 0.8 is, for someone who is not physically active. So that obviously increases significantly up to about 1.4 grams per kilogram of body weight if you are very physically active or an athlete. So the 0.8 is a very, very average requirement. And of course, knowing that we can't store protein, it's best to break up our protein intake over our meals each day. So it's best to eat 3 lots of protein across 3 different meals. So for example, for a 70 kilo person, you'd intake about 18 to 20 grams of protein per meal. So a 25 gram serving of the Miessence Complete Protein powder gives you just under 20 grams of complete protein. So 20 grams of complete protein is the equivalent to 3 to 4 eggs. Okay, so this is just one serving, which is about 5 teaspoons or 2 heaped tablespoons of complete protein. Of the Miessence protein is the equivalent to 3 to 4 eggs, 2.5 cups of skim milk, 200 grams or nearly a cup of cottage cheese, 75 grams of cooked lean beef, 110 grams of cooked chicken, and 90 grams of grilled fish. So these are actually our daily essential amino acid requirements. So these are the essential amino acids that our body cannot manufacture, that our liver doesn't manufacture. So how I figured this out, let me just show you. Okay, I think there is a way to annotate. Let me see if I can do this little spotlight. Okay, can you see a little red thing flying around? Can someone tell me if they can see this red circle? I'm just testing this. Anyone? Yes, awesome. Okay, so this is this section is the recommended daily intake of essential amino acids per milligram per kilogram of body weight. Okay, so what I did for a 70 kilogram person, so this is, I basically multiplied that by 70 kilos. Okay, so we've got 700 milligrams is the RDA for histidine. Okay, so, and then when we had the Miessence protein powder tested, these were the milligrams of these essential amino acids per serving. Okay, so this is the RDI for a 70 kilogram person of these essential amino acids. This is what you get in one serving of Miessence Complete Protein, and this is the subsequent RDI. Okay, so a little bit less in lysine, way plenty in phenylalanine and tyrosine. So average, this is how I worked it out. It was average 65%, which is, you know, around 2/3 of the RDI for the essential amino acids in one serving for a 70 kilogram person. So that's how I did the maths for that. So 65% being around 2/3. Okay, now how do I get to the next slide? All right. So now I wanted to talk about protein quality. So this is another lot of information that I sourced in when I was calculating the ratios of the ingredients in the Miessence protein to try and figure out, to get the highest quality protein I could out of plant-based sources, which are limited in the essential amino acids. Okay, so protein quality is dependent on having all the essential amino acids in proper proportion. So if one or more of the amino acids are not present in sufficient amounts, that protein is considered incomplete. Okay, so diets that are very low in protein or that are very restrictive in the types of protein consumed may not provide enough complete protein for the body's requirements. Let me just see if there's something else I wanted to talk to you about. Okay, I think I'll go to the next page. So this is another chart. So this basically, this is the optimal profile, this chart here, this is the optimal profile of essential amino acids for a complete protein. Okay, so if the essential amino acids are, let me just get this Spotlight. Let's have the spotlight again. Okay, so for example, tryptophan, if there is 7 milligrams per gram of protein of tryptophan, if there's 7 milligrams of tryptophan per gram of protein in a protein source, then that is considered the optimal ratio of tryptophan. Okay, so you can see all of these numbers are all different requirements for a complete protein and all the different amino acids. So when I was playing with the essential amino acid breakdown of the rice, the pea, the sacha inchi, and comparing it to this optimal requirement for a complete protein, basically, I think I've actually got the workings on it next. Hang on a tick. I think I'll show you my workings. All right. Next, must be the next slide. Okay, so as we've just learned, plant sources are incomplete sources of protein because one or more of the essential amino acids is deficient or is below that requirement for a complete protein. So the net protein utilization, how well we absorb protein of an incomplete source of protein, for example, rice, is affected by the limiting amino acid content of that source. So basically none of the individual ingredients in the Miessence Complete Protein is a complete protein. But what I did is by carefully combining them in a specific ratio, I've been able to make up for the deficiencies of each of the ingredients and create a plant source protein that has a complete amino acid profile, which is really, really unusual in the plant world of protein or in vegan sources of protein, because most protein supplements on the market, just are sold as an individual plant-based source. So, for example, rice. You can buy rice protein, or you can buy pea protein, or you can buy hemp protein, or all different sources, plant-based sources, but none of those are actually complete. You have to actually combine them in a certain way to get the ideal ratio so the protein is a complete protein. So this is how I did this. This is a little snapshot of my spreadsheet that I used to work out the ratio for the sacha inchi, rice and pea. And this was just the end process. I actually looked at about a dozen different sources of plant-based proteins in this when I was researching the protein supplements. So and I came to these three, which were the most potent sources of proteins or the essential amino acids, and I could combine them nicely and get a really high potency protein, plant-based protein. So nearly 80% across the board, and a complete protein, which is pretty well unheard of in terms of the vegan proteins on the market. So let me just show you how I figured this out. So that table that we saw a couple of slides ago, this is the optimal profile of the essential amino acids in milligram per gram of protein. Okay, so these are the essential amino acids over here, the histidine, isoleucine, leucine, blah, blah, blah. This is the optimal ratio per milligram per gram of protein. Okay, so this is the data from sacha inchi. Okay, this is the data from rice, and this was the data from our pea protein. So as you can see, the amount of lysine in sacha inchi is less than, see that ratio, 51 and 43. So that is 84%. Okay, that is, so everything else is 100%. Everything else is above, so that 26 is above 18, 50 is above 25, 64 is above 55. So all the other amino acids are totally fine, they are complete, but because it is deficient in lysine. So basically what would happen if you took sasha inchi by itself, that you can only absorb the protein at the strength of the limiting amino acid. Okay, so for sasha inchi, it's only 84% bioavailable. For rice, it's even worse. Rice is deficient in lysine by almost half of the optimal profile for a complete protein. So rice is 54%. So basically, if you're buying Sun Warrior or any rice protein, you're only going to be getting half of the protein that's stated on the pack, because it's deficient in lysine, and your body can only absorb the protein in concert with the limiting amino acid. Okay, so for pea, the limiting amino acids are methionine and cysteine. So what I was able to do was, if you can see this, the Miessence Complete Protein, using a certain ratio of sasha inchi, rice and pea, I've been able to see I've got all of them are above now. So all of the essential amino acids are above the optimal profile, or meet the optimal profile, or in excess of the optimal profile. Okay, they're all over 100%. Okay, which is why I was super excited to create this protein that is a complete protein, using 3 different sources of incomplete proteins in an ideal ratio. So yeah, this is a pictographic illustration. So the sasha inchi. So you see, you can only absorb the proteins to the strength of the least amount. Okay, and rice, you can see it's around the 50%, and pea around 75%. But the Miessence Complete Protein, because I'm using all 3 of those, is a complete protein of a plant-based source, which is really, really awesome. And this is the nutritional information from the Miessence Complete Protein. As you can see, it's 78.8% protein, almost like 0 fat, and carbohydrates, like sugars per 100 grams, it's less than 1% carbohydrate. Okay, less than 1% of sugars, 5% of fiber, 40%. So one serving is 40% of your protein, your daily protein requirement. But in terms of the essential amino acids, which I believe is more important, but this is the information that is required on nutritional information panels. You don't break down proteins by the essential amino acids. It's just a whole protein number, a gross protein number. So in terms of the gross protein, or all of the amino acids, all the 20 amino acids, you're getting 39%. But in terms of your essential amino acids, you're getting 2/3. So yeah, you really don't need a lot of the protein. It's extremely concentrated, and a great source of protein. So let's look at protein powder compared with protein foods. Okay, so the advantages of using protein powder, the Miessence protein powder, is it's extremely cost effective, much cheaper than buying meat. It is a complete and balanced protein source. It's very low calorie, low carbohydrate, sugar-free, low fat, no fat. So you're not getting all the saturated, nasty fats and all the rest of the bits and pieces, and you're not contributing to animal cruelty. So yeah, very low calorie, low carb, sugar-free way to satisfy a sweet craving. And yeah, a lovely way to do that is to blend it with some raw cacao or some berry radical, and a lovely fat sauce or some nuts and a bit of coconut, and make yourself a lovely protein ball. It's very convenient, as with all of our superfood products. Extremely convenient, very concentrated, potent source of protein. And it requires no cleanup, doesn't stink your kitchen out. If you're cooking meat, it's a little or no cleanup, requires no refrigeration. You can carry it with you on your travels. You can take it hiking. It doesn't need refrigeration, doesn't need heating. You can have it raw, unlike meat. It has a higher biological value than meat. It has a much higher protein efficiency ratio or biological value than animal products. And a protein shake is much easier on the stomach before bed. Now, I did want to give you some other bits of information about the branched chain amino acids in the Miessence Complete Protein. The BCAAs are the branched chain amino acids are leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and they are of special importance to athletes because they're metabolized in the muscle rather than in the liver. This makes them very important to exercise enthusiasts, and they've been shown to reduce fatigue both in anaerobic and endurance sports. And leucine may be the most critical branched chain amino acid because it has anti-catabolic properties and a vital role in protein synthesis, which means that it prevents your body from breaking down protein from breaking down your protein, so you don't lose muscle mass. So branched chain amino acids, the BCAAs, those three amino acids make up 40% of the daily requirement for the essential amino acids. Okay, so despite its plant-based origins, the Miessence Complete Protein is a great source of branched chain amino acids, comprising 43% of the essential amino acids. So you're getting more than your daily requirement of the branched chain amino acids through the Miessence Complete Protein. Wanted to talk briefly about why you want to add protein with each meal. It's to do with blood sugar spikes and fat storage. So blood sugar spikes in response to carbohydrate-based meals, such as white rice or white bread or pasta or sweets. And this causes the pancreas to secrete the hormone insulin that facilitates the storage of circulating nutrients as fat. Okay, so when you don't have, so this also leads to, when your body releases, when the pancreas releases insulin, it also causes a drastic drop in blood sugar, which manifests as fatigue. Okay, which is why you feel tired after a very sugary, sweet, carbohydrate-rich meal. So including protein with your meal, including protein with every meal, helps to regulate your blood sugar, keep your insulin in check, and potentially prevent those circulating nutrients being stored as fat. Okay, so it's really, really important to have protein with every meal to prevent you from getting that after meal slump and to prevent your body from storing all those nutrients as fat. Darcy, hemp is not a complete protein. Hemp is similar to rice. It's deficient in lysine. I wonder if I can access it. It was one of the, let me see if I can quickly find it. If I can access it, I'll see if I can. Okay, I have to log into the server. No, all right. I thought I'd be able to access my spreadsheet, my working spreadsheet, but I've got to. Yeah, no, I don't have it here. No. Yeah, so I don't recall what the ratio, what the limiting amino acid ratio was, whether it be, rice being 53%. But yeah, hemp is not a complete protein, similar to rice in that it's deficient in lysine. So it would need to be combined with another plant-based source rich in lysine, which are generally the legumes, to be a complete protein. Any other questions? Actually, let me unmute you guys. I'm unmuting you now. Yes, Josephine. The protein powder, the Miessence Complete Protein, because it has been bio-fermented and sprouted, the pea protein is bio-fermented and the rice is a sprouted, it's much more easily metabolized and broken down by the body than meat, for example. Leaky gut. I don't know if the protein would help with leaky gut. I noticed Gary's on the call. Maybe he can chime in. Where are you? Can I? Any feedback regarding protein and leaky gut? I've got you unmuted, Gary, if you want to say something.
Yeah, hi, Narelle. Yeah, potentially it could make a difference. It's certainly a helpful nutrient to have there. It's not specific, but
yeah,
no reason to think it wouldn't be a nice adjunct if that's a problem.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Anything that is going to be easy to digest is certainly going to be a plus for people with a true leaky gut situation.
Great, thank you. So yes, things that are easy to digest are going to be helpful. That's great. Any other questions? Okay, so next week, thank you for being on the call. Next week we're going to look at, oh, there was a message. You're welcome, Tina. I'm going to go through, because there's lots of competition in the marketplace. If you want me to do any analysis between now and then, between now and next week, send it through to me and I'll see if I can add it to my list. But there's a whole bunch of protein supplements on the market that I will do an analysis of and do a comparison between the Miessence Complete Protein and those. So if you want anything on the list, send it through to me, narelle@miessence.com in the next couple of days, and I'll see if I can add it to the list for next week's Fridays with Narelle. Okay, thank you very much everyone for being on the call, and I hope to see you next week. Okay, bye-bye.